So in my last video, I started talking about the biggest weakness of every NBA team, starting with the Eastern Conference, and today we're going to continue that by talking about the Western Conference. Like I said in the previous video, out of the two conferences, now I am just beginning this recording, but I do believe the Western Conference has more to talk about than the Eastern Conference. There's less teams like the Hawks or the Cavs or the Knicks that just are straight booty cheeks, and that's all you really have to say about them. And after doing research for this video, that does hold true. We essentially are going to have a section for every single team in the Western Conference, except for really two that I just grouped into one. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and shout out the sponsors of this video, SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an app that gets tickets from all over the web and puts them on one app, so you can get the best deals for whatever event you want to go to, whether it be an NBA game, an NFL game, a concert, you name it, they got you covered. They have very useful and very helpful filters. They have color-coded maps that show you the best deals with a green dot, the worst ones marked with a red one. And thanks to SeatGeek, you guys can use the code BSouls for $20 off your first purchase. Links will be in the description. But now that we got that out the way, let's go ahead and talk about our first team for this video in the Los Angeles Lakers. Now, the Los Angeles Lakers have been phenomenal this year. For a team that added Anthony Davis and all of the parts that they have gathered, they have definitely lived up to the hype so far. Now, they've been struggling recently because of injuries to LeBron, but for the most part, they have been a phenomenal team. This is a team that doesn't really have many weaknesses. They're great on offense, they have superstars, they have great role players. Defensively, they're an extremely versatile team. However, if there is one weakness I could pinpoint, it would be on the defensive end, specifically transition defense. Now, transition defense is a pretty interesting stat because transition defense is one of the few defensive stats that also has something to do with how well you execute on offense. What I mean by this is the less turnovers you commit, the less times you have to be on defense in transition, meaning most of the time, the less turnovers you commit, the less fast break points you give. And according to the stats, the Los Angeles Lakers so far this season are 18th in turnovers, which is also translated to 27th in fast break points allowed. Now, in the playoffs again, when the game slows down, this shouldn't be as much of a problem, but nonetheless, it is a weakness that teams can exploit by turning up the pace and playing a more fast-paced offense, knowing that this is a weakness of this squad. And just looking at their personnel, they really don't have that many good transition defenders. You can think of LeBron, who has been famous for his chase down block, but that was in his athletic prime and he is well past that. And aside from LeBron, again, they don't really have that many good transition defenders. Number two, the Los Angeles Clippers. The Clippers actually, to me, after looking at, their stats as a team and just their personnel, really do have the same weakness as the Lakers, if not more emphasized, as the Clippers so far this season are 26 in turnovers and are also 26th in fast break points allowed, meaning that they commit more turnovers per game than the Lakers, which again translates to poor transition defense. Now, this may be due to them having a lot of shot creators or, a main part of their offense being around ball handlers like Paul George and Kawhi and Lou Will. So again, it is a problem that exists, and if there is one that the Clippers have, it is transition defense. Number three, the Denver Nuggets. The Denver Nuggets were known for their offense last year. They had a plethora of offensive weapons led by one of the most talented big men in the league, in Nikola Jokic, and their ball movement was a spectacle to watch last season. However, this season, their offense has taken a huge dip, and that has been their biggest problem. Last year in the 2019 season, they were 6th in offensive rating. However, in the 2019-2020 season, that has dipped all the way down to 16th in the league. They're also bottom half in field goal percentage, 3-point percentage, and free throw percentage. And looking at the individual stats of all the players, no one's really improved. Jokic has at best stayed the same, if not regressed. Jamal Murray hasn't really improved. Gary Harris hasn't really improved. Michael Porter Jr. is still gaining his legs. I mean, the only player I can look at and say he has improved this year has probably been Paul Millsap, and that's about it. However, the reason why the Nuggets are still third in the West is because of their defense. And I know this is a weakness video, but I just want to point out that they have massively improved their defense, jumping from 10th in the league last season to the second best defense so far in the league. And that is why, although they have dipped a lot offensively, they have still stayed near the top of the West this year. Number 4, the Rockets. Now, look, at this point in the game, I'm known as a Westbrook hater. I don't want to keep explaining every time that I don't actually hate him, but if I were to pinpoint a weakness in the Rockets, it would have to be Russell Westbrook. Now, I have to give credit when credit is due. The past 7 games, he's actually been playing phenomenal basketball. As of the recording of this video, the past 7 games, Westbrook has averaged 29 points, 7 assists, and 8 rebounds on 51% shooting from the field, 30% from 3, and 88% from the line. That is phenomenal. And in that span, the Rockets have been 6-1. Phenomenal. No complaints there. Shout out to Russell Westbrook for his recent performances. But nonetheless, he is still their biggest concern until proven otherwise. Because come playoff time, his inefficiency woes will still be a possibility, hence will still be a problem. Careless turnovers or an abundance of turnovers will still be a problem. Late game decision making is still concerning. And until those issues are officially fixed, Russell Westbrook will be the Rockets' biggest problem. If not Westbrook, I would point towards the Mike D'Antoni system in general and the flaws that it's shown the past 10 years pretty much, which is being overly reliant on one player, a la James Harden, and not being able to make adjustments if their game plan is not executed. Number 5, the Dallas Mavericks. So Kristaps Porzingis is finally healthy for the Dallas Mavericks to use as a second option to Luka Doncic. And while Porzingis recently has been pretty good as a first option as Luka Doncic has been injured, as a second option, however, he has been concerning. So far this season, Kristaps is shooting 41% from the field, 33% from 3, and 72% from the free throw line. That is Dallas's second option. And after him, there is no real consistent shot creator on the team. Now, I'm not saying Dallas's offense is trash because of this, because they actually have the #1 offense in the league so far and have been playing relatively well without Luka as well. But Porzingis' play so far this season has been relatively disappointing, and it could be a concern moving forward, as we know that in today's league, relying on one star and one star only is not a viable option. Multiple stars are needed, and if Porzingis is supposed to be the Mavs' second star, then he has to perform better than how he's been performing so far. Number 6, the Utah Jazz. The Utah Jazz so far, I think they're actually having the 2019 Celtics problem, aka a case of too many shot creators. D-Mitch, Bojan, and Gobert, they've actually been playing pretty good, but coming into the season, we weren't just thinking of the Utah Jazz offense as D-Mitch, Bojan, and Rudy Gobert. We were thinking of what they had last year, except you're adding an all-star caliber point guard in Mike Conley, and Bojan Bogdanovic, and Jeff Green. However, so far this season, it looks like D-Mitch, Bojan, and Gobert are the only ones that have been playing good offensively out of their supposed shot creator core. Mike Conley has been playing not too good. Joe Ingles has taken a huge dip. Jeff Green has been inconsistent, and they are 27th in assists. I have always viewed Utah as a team that's been great in offensive ball movement, and so far this season they have not shown that. So hopefully they don't become the 2019 Celtics, and hopefully they can find a balance between all of their shot creators, but right now it is their biggest problem. Number 7, the Oklahoma City Thunder. The Thunder so far this season have been actually playing amazing, relatively speaking. Coming into the season, we were all cracking jokes about the Thunder, how Dame and the Blazers ended their whole franchise, but as of the recording of this video, the Thunder actually have a better record than the Blazers. We thought they were going to be the worst team in the league or one of them, but no, they are actually in the playoff hunt so far, and that itself I believe is their problem. You see, OKC is one of those markets that may be more interested in just selling tickets than being good or making the right decisions. There are certain franchises in the league that do prioritize this, as at the end of the day, the NBA is just a business, or at least that's what it's become come to some people. In the long run, it might be better to just throw the season or trade CP3 and Danilo Gallinari, but because of CP3 and Danilo and the rest of the crew, they've actually been playing well and are actually in the playoff hunt. So they have this problem of, should they tank and trade away these players, or actually just play it out and make the playoffs and be competitive this year? It's going to be interesting to see where they go from here. Number 8, the Portland Trail Blazers. The Trail Blazers have been one of the biggest disappointments this year. Now, I know the West has been competitive, but their level of regression this year has been more than what anyone really expected, at least what I expect, because this season their offense has significantly regressed. In 2019, their defense was subpar, nothing really special. However, they had the 3rd best offense in the league. Come this season, 2020, their defense is still subpar, and if anything has gotten worse, and now their offense has gone from 3rd to 10th in the league. Now, I know technically that's still a top 10 offense in the league, but again, if your defense is subpar and you've been relying on your offense to be competitive in games, and that side of the game has regressed this much, it is a huge problem. It is clear that the production of Seth, the production of Enes Kanter, Al-Farouq Aminu has been missed this season, and also the addition of the injuries of Rodney Hood and Yusuf Nurkic definitely don't help. I mean, we really got to think about it. They had to go after Melo for a reason, and so far this season they are dead last in assists per game. The Blazers are in trouble. Number 9, the Sacramento Kings. I believe the biggest problem for the Kings is just simply lack of experience once again, or a lack of veteran leadership. When I look at the Sacramento Kings, I look at a bunch of young guys with not a lot of veteran leadership. Just another year where it seems that the Kings are a young core trying to figure themselves out. They have a very talented young core, but they're one of those young cores where we're just waiting on them to explode, and it looks like it's not going to be this year once again. Injuries to De'Aaron Fox and Marvin Bagley also haven't helped either. I mean, just looking at their offensive and defensive rating, they've just been bottom tier so far. They've been 20th in offensive rating and 17th in defensive rating. There's not really anything special about this team, and the fact that they're just mediocre in offense and defense proves that they are still trying to find themselves. Number 10, the San Antonio Spurs. Look, Greg Popovich is a legendary coach. Many can argue that he is the greatest coach of all time. But Greg Popovich is the biggest problem that the Spurs have right now, as Greg Popovich has been reluctant to change his style of play and style of coaching. That has been the biggest crux of this team. Greg Popovich, it is 2020, 2019, whatever you want to call it. 3-point shooting is an essential part of the game, and I know a great basketball mind like you can see this trend. There is no reason why the Spurs should be last in 3-point attempts per game and 21st in 3-point percentage. At least last season, if I remember correctly, they were near the bottom in the league in 3-point attempts, but as far as 3-point percentage, they were actually pretty good. This year, that's not the case. Popovich needs to be held accountable. Number 11, the Phoenix Suns. The Suns, man, I was excited. After their start to the year, I'm like, damn, the Suns have actually done it. Their core is coming out and they've become a solid team, but recently they have regressed back to the mean. And I believe the cause of this has been their lack of veteran leadership and their defense just not being good. They're 20th in the league in defense. Aaron Baines and Ricky Rubio are the veterans of the team, and while those guys are great players, they're not really the veterans that championship or even playoff contending teams look for, unless you have more on top of them. And also DeAndre Ayton's antics in the beginning of the year definitely did not help. Number 12, the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, the Memphis Grizzlies, they're just a rebuilding team, so any problem that comes with the rebuilding team, that's the problems that the Memphis Grizzlies have. But it's been pretty clear so far this season that the Grizzlies are just using this season to see what John Morant has and to see what Jaren Jackson can bring to the table, and they're gonna build from there. I'm not really concerned with how bad they've been playing. This is what I expect. Number 13, the Minnesota Timberwolves. Just like the Suns, man, I am so disappointed because in the start of the season, they were playing really good. And I even made a video talking and praising Andrew Wiggins for his play because he was a big part of their success in the beginning of the season. However, the last 13 games, it looks like Air Wiggy has regressed back to the mean. I mean, the mean. I swear to God, that was an accident. I swear. In the last 13 games, yes, he's been averaging 25 points per game, but on 44, 33, 77 splits, and that's 2016 Andrew Wiggins. That's not an improvement. And to go along with it, he's been averaging 3 assists per game and 5 rebounds per game, which is again nothing special. And after Andrew Wiggins, their offense is just mediocre again. They're just not a good team. They're 16th in the league in offense and 23rd in defense. Sad to say, but it looks like the Minnesota Timberwolves have not taken any steps forward this season. And number 14, I'm gonna have to group the New Orleans Pelicans and the Golden State Warriors. Now these two teams, it's simply been injuries. Steph Curry, Clay, and the other mini injuries that the Warriors have gotten, I mean, they just gave up for the rest of the season pretty much. This is not a season that should signify what the Warriors are, because we know the past 5 years they have been the example of excellence in the NBA, and it's just been a down year. There's so many weaknesses to this team. There's not really one big one, and if there is one, it would be injuries, as we all know. And the Pelicans, well, Zion's injury has really not helped this team and has really brought them back, because going into the season, there were talks of the Pelicans actually being a playoff team. So far this season, Brandon Ingram has been playing phenomenal, but it seems like all that hype has just kind of died down the longer Zion stays out, because the excitement that we had for this team, I mean, we're really just waiting for Zion. But with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you guys haven't seen the Eastern version of this team, go ahead and check it out. It'll probably be suggested, but I'll leave a link in the description just in case. Leave a like on this video if you liked it. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. But with that being said, I am out. Peace.